Hi, how are you? Yeah, yeah, we can, hi, how are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Everything going well?
Um,
Uh,
we're
Trick question?
filing lawsuits against gravel dump.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I missed that. I was gonna go and then
What was that?
you had that, the river fundraiser event and
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't make it out.
That's okay. It was turned out really well.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
thanks
if you have like a,
Supporting that.
if you have a, I don't know, like a Venmo or a PayPal or something that I'd like to contribute something
Oh,
for it.
I'll send you some of it.
Okay, awesome.
Great.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my wife.
We're live on YouTube. Yep. And
Good.
yeah.
Welcome, everyone. I'm mic'd. Wow. Ooh, wow. Welcome, everyone. I hope you've hit the loo. Now that's on YouTube. So today the mic is on. The mic will be shared. And it's all going on YouTube. You know how Smithville is these days. So watch yourselves. We're on camera now. There it is. There it is. We're live streaming and Jill's watching it to be good. So welcome to Smithville. And for those from Smithville, thank you for having us. We have celebrities here. We have a whole range of folks. I think we have new people too, so that's great. And today, you see, there's a panel presentation, and we'll get to that. I'm Kevin Anderson, Austin Water Utility. This is the Austin Bastrop River Corridor Partnership bi-monthly meeting, and it's always great to get to Smithville. For those of us coming down from Austin, it's a re-education each time. These guys were saying it too. When you zip down 71 through Bastrop, you don't even see Bastrop anymore. You land in Smithville, you have to land at the airport. You're going that fast on 71 now, it's crazy. So it's good to be downtown and slow down and reconnect to what this great place is. We have Adina Lewis in the room this time because we wouldn't be in Smithville without Adina, who back in the 1800s, we decided that the river corridor had to go all the way to Smithville because of her. We had to talk, yes. That's right. My eyes went really big because it's now 90 miles of river rather than 60 miles. But how do you say no to Adina? Right, Adina always has some injured part and, it's sympathy works. The point being that this history, now 20 years of doing this stuff, originally we weren't looking at Smithville, and it totally makes sense because the connection between Travis County and the Bastrop County segment of the river is real and manageable and needs what we're going to do today. So what we're going to do today is a conversation and a feedback thing that Mikey's even set up, thinking about parks in Bastrop, but learning about all of the park stuff going on in eastern Travis County and along the river. And so that side of it is something that connects us too. I get to say some personal stuff because I've been doing this so long with Adina, and Sherry's here. Always we've been concerned. Yeah, Neil Cook is here, but we'll get to Neil in a minute. Always, Dan Picot's here, all these old farts. There's always been a focus on, with this partnership, right? We're an incubator. We're not a nonprofit. We're not an agency thing. This is a roundtable, an open conversation about the river. And from the very beginning, and Adina will attest to it, or Neil will attest to, Sherry, river access and the parks, and then the planning behind that has been what we've tried to foster. Susan's here too with LCRA, looking at the opportunities for developing parks along the river. And of course, at the Travis County end, as you'll hear today, and Janet's at my shoulders, there's been lots of focus on that. We want to inspire and help and mentor Bastrop, the city of Bastrop, Bastrop County, the city of Smithville to do the same, because the window is closing rapidly, and you all know that too. But even with the window closing, we've been able to do stuff at the Travis County end, and the lessons learned, the planning that was done, all is transferable down here. But the window is closing, right? The land is disappearing. All of that concerns me personally because I've put 23 years of this, 22 years of this, always thinking about the Bastrop end because the river's so beautiful here and the history is connected to it, and Smithville's history is connected to the river as well. We got work to do is the point. And the work over the next year or two is going to determine what kind of river access y'all have for the next 50 years. And it's entirely possible, as you'll hear about today. So again, I'm Kevin Anderson, Austin Water Utility, and supposedly the coordinator of this thing. The first thing we want to do, we'll exclude these guys, want to go around and introduce ourselves. And since you're on television, you have to use the microphone.
Well, good morning, everybody. And as an employee here at City of Smithville, we really appreciate you all being here and being part of this amazing partnership that's been going on for so long, so many years. It's really astounding. And thanks to Kevin for being here. Thanks to all the panelists. I don't know if I told you, my name is Jill Struby. I am the Director of Economic Development and Grants Administration here for the city. So we have a great team. We do a lot of really wonderful things. We try our best to get everything done for the city that we can. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you.
If anybody saw me pay her $20 when I walked in, it's because she called me and made me buy a raffle ticket on Saturday. So, and I won. Tell them what I won.
Oh, so she won a pickup truck full of gravel or sand, her choice. Right. Yeah, from Texas Aggregate. So yeah.
The irony of it all. Maybe I'll put it back in one of their holes. Sorry, I'm not on Oxy anymore. This is really me. And for those that you want to know, avoid at all costs tearing your rotator cuff. It's 6 weeks in this thing to include sleeping in it. So just saying. I'm Adina Lewis. I was born on Main Street, Smithville. I live on Main Street, Smithville. When I circled back, I became the president of the chamber in Smithville. And that's how I ended up sitting next to Tom Scott and being introduced to Kevin. So it's always about us bringing somebody else to the meeting. That's what it's always about. And you know people that should be here, so help. So now, for the last 13 years, I've been the Director of Tourism and Economic Development for Bastrop County. And you're either going to love me or hate me. It's okay if you do both. But if you go down 1209, when you're going back west, you'll see what's happened. It's pretty dramatic change that has happened between 71 and 969. That's where Elon has created almost 2,000 jobs and $400 million in taxable property with no tax abatement. So it's the good news and the bad news, because those used to be beautiful green fields with nothing on them. But we have a lot of people that now have jobs that wouldn't have had them before, or had to go to Austin to make your traffic worse in Austin. So anyway, thank you. I think our next meeting is going to actually be in Bastrop. Yes, so we'll look forward to having you there.
Bruce Blaylock, resident of Smithville and the Colorado River.
I'm Bill Glass, resident of Smithville now for 5 years. I've helped build hike and bike trails up along Walnut Creek and Wells Branch, and work with the Keep Smithville Beautiful here in Austin and Smithville.
Wow. You're busy. Everybody's busy. I'm retired. I used to have Cook's Canoes in beautiful downtown Weberville. We're on pause right now. Rising Phoenix has a great canoe rental, and they just opened up next to the boat ramp here in Smithville, that if you want to put a group together and have a good time on the river or go by yourself, check out Rising Phoenix.
Michael, Bastrop County Audubon. One of the first 4 bird cities in Texas. Yes, we beat Austin. Yes, we beat Houston. Yes, we beat San Antonio. And yes, we beat Dallas.
Jan Goebel, also with Bastrop Audubon. And one of the things I'd be interested in is how are we going to get access to the river with Starlink? And is Elon going to let us do that?
Kay Rogers, I'm on Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District Board now. I live in the county. I've canoed the river since '78. I'm chagrined about the condition of it. I sometimes hesitate to put my canoe in it, and real concerned.
Lee Pacat. I am Bastrop County resident, former City of Austin, Austin Water Utility, Watershed, Planning, IT, all those departments. Retired out here and am currently the president of the Lost Pines Master Gardeners. Lost Pines Master Naturalists. The Gardeners was 2 years ago.
Hi, I'm Dan Pacat, also retired. A lot of also former City of Austin Parks forester, former Travis County Parks forester, former Austin Tree Farm manager located on the Colorado, current resident of Cedar Creek, and we're moving to Bastrop. We're still out sort of in the country, but also former semi-committee Bastrop County Parks Consultation Board. That's about how convoluted it was. So yeah, we're trying to work on more parks for Bastrop County too. Thanks.
I don't have a whole lot. So Ryan Petter with Travis County Water Quality Department.
I'm Ann Brokenbrough with the Wilburger Creek Conservation Alliance, and we're trying to help Travis County create parks out in Wilburger Creek, and eventually maybe if we can get it to go all the way to Bastrop, we'd love that, to work with people in Bastrop to preserve land along Wilburger Creek all the way to the Colorado River.
Jennifer Lynch, City Secretary, City of Smithville.
Tracy Dosnowski, Assistant City Secretary, City of Smithville.
Charles Petrie, retired. The only thing I have going is that I'm authoring a book that's out in February this coming year about the events of February 2021 with the winter storm.
And I live in between Wilbarger Creek and the river and used to fish on the river before it closed up.
I'm Skip Kennett. I have a farm in Wilbarger Bend.
Hi, good morning. Jordan Aldridge with the City of Austin, Department of Aviation, and I work in the Environmental Affairs Division.
Good morning, Hannah Glaw with LCRA. Good morning, Susan Meckel, Water Quality Protection at LCRA.
Good morning, Karen Heck, a resident of Smithville, family property on the Colorado between Smithville and LaGrange, so I'm interested to see what's going on.
Good morning, I'm Marlene Flores. I work for Bastrop County. I'm the floodplain manager.
Good morning, everybody. Fidel Campuzano with Austin Youth River Watch. We engage high school students in water quality testing around the city of Austin. So we're a nonprofit, and all of our data that we collect with them goes to the LCRA and City of Austin. So that's what we're doing. And just a little bit of a shameless plug here. If you want to know more about us, we're actually having an open house. Our site is out at Hornsby Bend, where the CER is for the City of Austin. So that's May 17th. We'll be doing some hiking, some birding, and just exploration of that area and learning more about what we do. So May 17th, 10 to 2. So in the morning, we'll do some outdoor yoga as well. Not sure if I mentioned that, but yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sherry Cool. I'm the Environmental Resource Officer for Austin Water. Great to see everybody here today. I have the pleasure of working with Kevin and the CER, and also Fidel and the tree folks out at Hornsby, and then also our Wildland Conservation Division for Austin Water and our climate work.
I'm Luke Thompson with the Pines and Prairies Land Trust. We own about 2 miles of riverfront and along the river in Bastrop. And I'm also president of the Bastrop County Audubon Society.
Terry Thompson, retired teacher, BISD, Bastrop Audubon.
Hey everyone, I'm Natasha Moore, Texas Parks and Wildlife, urban wildlife biologist.
Hi, I'm Nancy Ravensburg with the Lost Pines Texas Master Naturalist. I'm a retired teacher. Oh, I'm recently on the Bastrop County Audubon Board. I do the quarterly water survey, river survey for Kevin for the Bastrop branch.
And she's not president of the Master Naturalist anymore, right? Wow, what a great group of people, right, Adina? This is what happens with this meeting. And she's right. Tell others we'll be in Bastrop July 9th, not the first Wednesday. We always meet on the first Wednesday, but that's right. We've got a certain holiday unfolding. So we shifted it to the second Wednesday at the courthouse annex, 10 a.m. Tell your friends, come along. And that meeting will focus on birds, 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 birds. With Bastrop Audubon, with C.R. Smith and the update on the eagles along the river. I'll say something about birds, no doubt. Jan and Mike, we'll make it up as we get there, but it's birds, 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 and you'll see why when you get there. But today is different. Today is bringing Travis County Parks and Parks Planning to Bastrop County. And you'll see as these presentations unfold why the connection is there, but Anne already talked about it, right? There's the parks planning in Eastern Travis County naturally is connected to Bastrop County by the waterways, the river, those creeks, but also by the population. Folks like Dan and the Picots have stumbled downstream over time too. So there's that sort of connection as well. And that's why it's relevant to have Travis County Park planning in the room. Thank you for coming. At the end of the meeting, we have time for updates on what's going on. So thank you for not spilling the beans on stuff yet, except Fidel, but that counts, right? You get to come back and tell us more about, oh my God, yoga at Hornsby Bend. I've fought so hard against it and look what's happened. I said that out loud? Yeah. Men in tights. So we'll have those updates again at the end. So yes, bring back and times and dates and places. There's stuff going on that Saturday as well, I hear, with Travis County Parks. And segueing to that then, and I get to sit down and we put this mic away. We have a panel today of folks, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. The panel idea is that this is a conversation about what's going on, and Mikey will explain some of that too. Not that you guys ever need prompting to speak up. But when we do that as well, since it's all being recorded, this mic becomes important for the audience. These guys have their own mics up front. So without further ado, we're going to spend the next hour or so talking about parks and parks planning and the Travis County stuff. And it's really exciting to me when I hear some of those things going on. And then the broader picture that they're seeking input on, they'll explain all of that to you. So I hand it over. You can push your button.
We on? Are we working? Should I scooch up? I'll scooch up a little. Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I love that this particular meeting takes me to different places outside of Travis County. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm Joanna Wooliver. I'm the Executive Director of Travis County Parks Foundation. And after our presentation here, you'll understand particularly why we're talking about Travis County. And I hope that you walk away imagining opportunities for a partnership, particularly along the Colorado River, and thinking how you might extend what we're working on in Travis County. So hopefully I can make this work, but
It's like,
what?
you have to be like over and then roll.
Here you go.
I don't know.
Mike is magical with things like that. But, all right, so I'm here with my partners in crime. What? Introduction? Are we doing introductions of all three of us first? Okay. I'll step back.
Moo. Hi. My name is Mikey Gorelnik. I'm a landscape architect and a planner with Great Springs Project. We're a regional nonprofit based in Austin, where I live. And I guess we'll talk more about what our mission is and how our work aligns with the Lower Colorado River Trail in a moment. But before I do, I also want to say that it's really nice to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with y'all about this project, but also to hear what y'all's experiences are and what your perspectives are, not only on the trail, but on the river broadly. The amount of expertise and the range of different expertises is really just impressive and inspiring. So Kevin mentioned there'll be an opportunity later to collect, or I guess prompt more conversations from or input, I guess, from you all on the project, but really just looking forward to doing that, but checking in and chatting as the morning proceeds.
All right, good morning, everybody. I've been here a number of times before and chatted with y'all about a number of things. I'm Janet Coles. I'm the Planning Project Manager for Travis County Parks. So you've heard from me before on our 2023 bond, which just a really quick update on that. We currently are moving forward. We still have a lot of acquisition money for the east side of the county that we really are trying to focus in on the our creek and our greenways area. So there's been talk about the Wilbarger Creek. So the portion, sorry, we can't buy in Bastrop County, but the portion in Travis County, we're working really hard on acquiring the rest of the land we need for the Wilbarger Creek Greenway, and then also the Gilliland Creek Greenway, which runs from our Northeast Metro Park, ultimately down to the Colorado River. And then also our Onion Creek Greenway. I had a couple of questions earlier. We are working to develop a brochure on the greenways that will explain those more. But in the meantime, our foundation has put together a map so you can kind of see the overview of the greenway projects, all of which are on the eastern side of Travis County. And then that, of course, includes the Colorado River corridor, which you're going to hear a lot about from Mikey and Joanna today. So other than that, then you've also heard from me before on our comprehensive plan effort that we're in the middle of right now. You'll hear just a snippet of that as we move through this presentation today, but I would encourage y'all to take home a postcard up here, or the koozie has the postcard in it, and there's a QR code on there and a website that will tie you to our social pinpoint that provides an opportunity for you to keep track of where we're at, and to provide input. So those are my plugs.
Thank you, Janet. And we all work very closely together, which has been really fun. So today we're talking to you about the Lower Colorado River Trail. We're sharing the presentation. You'll learn a little bit about the foundation, a little about Great Springs Project, and then kind of the vision that is not a new vision. It's been in many, many plans, and people have been talking about it for years, but we're really excited that we think there's some immediate opportunities to turn it from a vision to a reality. So we'll talk through that, including giving you some more information on the comprehensive plan. And then Mikey's got an exercise that we can do as well, because as he said, y'all have a lot of knowledge in this room. So there is one partner that is not in the room with us that we're working with on this project within the city of Austin, and that is the Trail Conservancy. You might know them. They are the nonprofit that manages and supports the Butler Trail around Lady Bird Lake in Austin. So they are the third nonprofit partner that's working on making the Lower Colorado River Trail a reality, and their interest is in extending the Butler Trail. So very exciting. So I will tell you a little bit about Travis County Parks Foundation. We are, I'd say, I should stop saying relatively new, because I've been in this position over 2 years, but it is relatively new on the scene. We are the nonprofit that supports Travis County Parks. You all might know it's 13,000 plus acres of protected land, 27 plus parks, depending on what you count, that are open to the public. I think the nearest one to us right now is Weberville. Maybe you could also say Southeast Metro. If you haven't picked up a map, check them out. You can go through and you can visit all the different parks. There are many more than people are necessarily aware of. So on that point, thank you, Mikey, for managing the slides. Woohoo. He's just in my brain. So as a nonprofit, we focus in 3 areas. The first is raising awareness. So a lot of people don't know that Reimers Ranch and Northeast Metro and Southeast Metro and Weberville are all within our Travis County Park System. These are all parks that are available to the public. So a lot of what we do is say, hey, did you know this park existed? Did you know it's yours to use? And that's a really fun part of our job. The second is creating opportunities for engagement. So if somebody reaches out to Travis County Parks and they say, I would love to volunteer in my park and bring a group, they connect us, and then we facilitate those volunteer activities. We also do programming in our parks. Janet mentioned that we have a conflict, so go and do yoga at Hornsby Bend, and then come and hear live music at Richard Moya Park. We have our annual For the Love of Parks Festival on that same day, May 17th, 1:45 is Los Tex Maniacs, Dan. So I hope you can go. And then our third piece is building community support for our parks, whether it's through outreach, education, advocacy, or straight up donations and facilitating in-kind donations too. So it's a really fun job that I have. So our work, we've got 3 primary programs. What do I have first there? I have first there is our Night Skies program. So we have a Night Sky program director, and we have astronomy education programs that are happening regularly throughout the county. That program supports the Reimers Observatory. And yes, I said Reimers Observatory. There's an observatory at Reimers Ranch. If you haven't gone there, sign up for a public program. So we're working on supporting that program and then bringing night sky education across our county. So what that looks like is we had a night sky event, a star party at Southeast Metro, and one recently at Bee Creek Sports Complex. I was just visiting Weberville Park today to eyeball it for another night sky party, so stay tuned on that. Second program area, which we're building right now, is the park stewards. So having dedicated volunteers eventually at all of our parks, that those are their parks. So an ambassador sort of program, they volunteer, and they also help with interpretive programming too. So I'm actually going to be hiring for somebody to help with that position this year. So if you know somebody that might be interested in that, send them my way. The third is really very closely related to what we're talking about today, is the Greenways Initiative. So another thing that people, I think, is a newer thing, moving to the next slide if you don't mind, is Travis County has, I think I can say this, has been somewhat quietly working on acquiring land to create a set of trails in eastern Travis County. So protected greenways and creeks with trails along them. So those include, as Janet said, Wilbarger Creek, Gilland Creek, Onion Creek, and then also there's the Colorado River. And I would say 2 of those creeks, there's construction dollars and a trail will be built within the next year. Can I say within the next? I'm just going to say within the next year, which is really exciting. So these aren't, might happen, might not happen. There's actually construction dollars for building portions of 2 of these trails, which, if you look at the whole vision, would be 70 miles of trails in eastern Travis County. And this map here, just a static map, but eventually it will also be an online story map that you can click around, but you can see how that trail system connects to our growing trail system within our county as well. So you see that we end at Bastrop County line. So hopefully we can extend that and eventually include more than just one county in that vision. So, and then I pass it off to Mikey, I believe, and we'll talk more about particularly the Colorado River portion of that map together today.
Yeah, thank you. And before we do though, zooming out, I guess, in terms of a multi-county vision of trail and connectivity and also conservation projects, conservation activity, that's what my organization, Great Springs Project, does. And that's sort of our entree into the Lower Colorado River Trail and the Lower Colorado River Corridor. So essentially what we're a regional nonprofit. So we're based in Austin, but we have folks that live in the 4-county area between Austin and San Antonio. So Travis County, Hayes County, Bexar County, and Comal County, working on 2 things. We work to connect those Great Springs that are located in those 4 communities with a network of continuous trail, being both recreational trail and active transportation trail, depending on sort of where it's located and what the community's respective vision for trail and connectivity is in that area. And we're working to enhance the quality and I guess the quantity of water entering the Edwards Aquifer and therefore supporting the health of those springs. So the way we work in doing those things, I mentioned this with the trails, it's the same approach with the conservation work. We're not working to like the trail isn't our trail. It's not a unique special alignment of Great Springs Trail that is like supplanting or different from what local or regional or even in some cases state trail priorities are. Our work is to stitch together the local, regional, and state trail priorities that are in our project area and to facilitate that connectivity from the Alamo to the Capitol. So roughly like 97% of the trail has been it's in at least a line on a map that had predated the Great Springs Project. The remaining 3%, so our work is to accelerate implementation of that trail that people have already said is an important thing. The other 3%, roughly, are the sort of nuggets that are left over or like near county lines or other places where there hasn't yet been an idea to connect a local trail to another local trail in a different locality, and that's where we come in. Broadly speaking, what we do is we're working to achieve 50,000 or support the implementation of 50,000 acres of new conservation projects that support the Edwards Aquifer and 100+ miles of continuous trail linking the Alamo to the Capitol by 2036, so the Texas Centennial. And here you can see our trail network, roughly where that is my microphone different? Is this too loud? Okay. Yeah, so here's our trail corridor. This is both the sort of spine of the Great Springs Trail and some of the, they're not less important. They're just sort of the offshoots that aren't located directly above the Edwards Aquifer Recharge Zone, which the Lower Colorado River Trail obviously would be. But you get a sense of the scale and the sort of ambition of the Great Springs Trail project. This is just the trail connectivity, not the recharge specific conservation project. And so, okay, so this is our collaboration working towards a big idea within this larger big idea, the Lower Colorado River Trail. So for those, it sounds like everybody here is probably quite familiar with this idea, but if you're not, and for those streaming on YouTube, here you can kind of see what at least our focus at the moment is on the Lower Colorado River Trail project. So obviously, as we've talked about, and we'll talk about a little bit more, this idea that this group has sort of stewarded goes even further to Bastrop and then potentially future or into Smithville, and a potentially even larger idea could go to the coast. And those are all thoughts that we have kind of in the back of our minds, but for now, for this effort, we've chosen to bite off a still very large, but we think manageable chunk of the Lower Colorado River Trail from Longhorn Dam in Austin to Weberville Park and essentially the Travis-Bastrop County line. And which is approximately 20 river miles, approximately 12 of which are in City of Austin and approximately 8 of which are in Travis County. And you can see, so as Joanna mentioned, our idea picks up with an extension of an existing trail, the Butler Trail. So the trail around Lady Bird Lake, 10 to 11 miles, extremely popular, is located in a very different physical, social, and ecological context than the Lower Colorado River Trail. The Lower Colorado River is a river, whereas the Lady Bird Lake is a lake, for one. Just to point out one very obvious distinction. So let's see. So what we're doing right now is we're working to support planning and design of a trail that would be responsive to those different physical, ecological, cultural, jurisdictional distinctions that are different between Lady Bird Lake portion of the trail, the existing trail and the lower trail, while also thinking about how we can synthesize the existing trail and the lower trail so that they function as one trail. And I think to frame that and what our approach has been to embrace two things. One, the sort of multidisciplinary, multiple range of benefits that such a trail could have. So its role as a parks and recreation amenity, its role or its kind of how it fits in the larger land use planning initiatives, its ability to promote active transportation connectivity, and the whole different kind of range of ways that it can engage with climate change adaptation and ecological enhancement objectives. And so with that, with that larger sort of lens, we're able to tap into decades, literally decades of City of Austin and Travis County planning initiatives that have either directly identified this project as a priority or that have recommendations that support the idea of a trail that provides connectivity and allows people to access the river in appropriate ways. So I think, Kevin charged us with kind of showing what we're doing as a way to just show and tell. If you could take anything away from our presentation, one thing I think would be to approach this project this way, as not just a trail that is a line along the river, but as this investment, a multi-beneficial investment that can achieve a whole different range of benefits for different users. So I think what we're going to do now is just go into a little bit more detail about some of these plans, just because I think it's interesting and potentially helps provide some context to ground how we're approaching the project in these different ways. So the first one is the city of Austin has a long-range parks plan. The idea, it's not to provide like specific master plan or specific detail or guidance on any one individual project, but to set a list of priorities that would guide how the city invests in parks in the future. So what's important about a future park or enhancing an existing park. And they went through this extensive community planning effort. It took a long time, as many things in Austin do, but the results were very great. It paid off well. The time they took was well used. Plan won like a bunch of awards, national awards, and it provides a whole different, several different levels of sort of support for the idea of this trail. Some of them are citywide, so the plan is broken out into a set of recommendations that apply to all parks citywide, and then they break the planning area out into different districts, and they have recommendations within those districts. So there are citywide recommendations that explicitly support the idea of that this is a priority effort. The city should focus parkland acquisitions in the Lower Colorado River corridor. And then specifically in I think it's the northeast actually, or maybe it's just the eastern portion of the planning area, but acquiring land to support connectivity for park use is a local recommendation for this plan. And then like kind of unrelatedly, like the distinction between the PARD plan and this plan, the Urban Trails plan, is significant. PARD has their own trail, their own sets of trails, the types of trails that they build that have different uses than Transportation and Public Works, which is planning for active transportation trails. These are meant for people to enjoy and use for fun, but they're also kind of the more like functional trail that would make it so that you don't have to ride in a car, which is a different trail type than a mountain biking trail or a pump track or the other kinds of bicycle planning that PARD often does. Neither is better or worse or more important, they're just different. And I think, again, acknowledging that distinction is an important thing for this project. So the Urban Trails Plan is, again, produced by a different department and different agency, and they also did an extensive community engagement process. It was quicker than the PARD plan, but the Urban Trails Plan is part of a much larger, like general mobility plan that includes like pedestrian planning for sidewalks and micro mobility and other things that have less of a relationship to our plan, to our project. It too has identified the Lower Colorado River Trail as a city priority for active transportation. So the way that their trail planning kind of roughly, broadly what they did is they looked at a whole different network of possible trail options and they prioritized them based on tiers. Tier 1 trails are essentially the most important, but really tier 2 and tier 3 are of equal importance to the city. They're just trails that the city, for whatever reason, has less authority to work on independently. But if there's a nonprofit or another strategic partner like GSP or the Travis County Parks Foundation to support them, then a tier 2 or tier 3 trail is no different than a tier 1 trail. And so the Lower Colorado River is that orange-ish line of tier 2 trail in the Urban Trails Network. And not only is it part of this, well, because it's in this network, the city has spent some time looking specifically at key segments within the urban trail portion of the Lower Colorado River Trail to think through what are some of the strategic opportunities for extending it or implementing it. So this is Montopolis Bridge. They have some thoughts for how to get under Montopolis Bridge to connect to existing city right-of-way. On the bottom, on the top, there's an existing connection to Roy G. Guerrero Park. Finally, yeah. The third plan that I think we want to talk about a little bit here is it's technically a county plan, but that plan was adopted in partnership with City of Austin and LCRA. It is a land use plan to guide future development generally, not just in terms of connectivity or park access or really any one specific topic, but a whole different range of like the future land use and development quality in this big portion of the lower Colorado River from the county line to, well, in Travis County jurisdiction. And that plan has these 3 different goals, each of which is specifically geared toward, each of which the plan acknowledges has a direct relationship to the active transportation and recreational and conservation benefits of a lower Colorado River trail. So all 3 of these plans are different, topically different. Some of them have different geographies, but they're all understanding what each one of them is saying has been the basis for our kind of implementation work, trying to think through which one of these levers should we be pulling for which different conversation or funding source or action to move the plan along. Now we would typically stop, I guess, for questions, but because the microphone has to get cycled, maybe we'll just do that later. Okay, we'll do it later, if that's okay. And instead, what we'll do is we'll go through, we're planning on, so again, many of you probably know much of this. Many of you probably know some of this better than we do. But for those of you who don't, or even just because it's interesting, we thought it'd be helpful to sort of walk through the 20 river miles that are within our project area. So from the dam to the county line, just to talk about what some of the opportunities or just the condition of each one of these segments is. So starting at the dam on the left of the map here, you can see that you may know that actually this map's been updated like 2 weeks ago or a week ago to include the Wishbone, which is a cool big new bridge project that allows trail users of the existing Butler Dam to better access this new tunnel that you can see a picture of in the upper left, which will connect folks on the south side of the river to Roy G. Guerrero Park, which is an existing very large urban park in downtown Austin. There is, you can see another trail, Country Club Creek Trail is a tier 1 urban trail that will tie into Guerrero Park. It's under construction right now. And that's that area. And as you move downstream, you cross under Montopolis Bridge, which is sort of one of the main existing ways of getting across the river for trail users or for pedestrians. You get to, and then, so as you cross under the bridge, you get to there's another existing or sort of growing City of Austin park called Bohm District Park, which City Council recently adopted a big master plan for. It includes a whole different range of mostly active recreational amenities. There's a pump track, but there's a nugget of river mileage that would have a lower Colorado River Trail on it, including a connection to the Walnut Creek Trail. Moving downstream from Bohm District Park, on the north side still, the city owns a large chunk of land here. This used to be it was called Driveway Austin. It's like a race car, former racing area. It's adjacent to John Trevino Metro Park, which is a big funding priority for the city. Recently received a $4 million federal grant to implement a master plan that was adopted in 2022. And then on the south side within this area is the Dog's Head area. God, this is so weird. The Dog's Head, it's so called because in profile, it kind of looks like a retriever or like a Labrador or something. But that big bend is a major land use development project, private development project in the city of Austin, which we're not involved in and don't know much about. We know as much as you all know, but it's an opportunity for the private sector to participate in and support these connectivity objectives that the city and county have identified. And so, okay, jumping back to the north side, it's from Trevino Park, which is this existing city, as mentioned, this huge city park on the east side, down to Hornsby Bend. It's 4.5 river miles. So that sounds long until you realize that Hornsby Bend is the downstream end of a large block of city. Hornsby Bend, the the observatory, the site that shows up if you Google Hornsby Bend, is the lower end of a bunch of city-owned land. So there's about 2 river miles of right-of-way from Hornsby Bend, from where that Hornsby Bend dot is, upstream. So that distance, 4.5 river miles from Trevino to Hornsby Bend, is really only 2 miles of non-publicly owned right-of-way. And of course, at Hornsby Bend, there's an existing trail network of nature trails to see the river, see the birds, and smell the poop. Yeah, do yoga. This is where the men in tights congregate. This area. Yeah. So okay. So the last thing I'll say about this segment before turning it over to Joanna is to say that Hornsby Bend is also the transition from this large chunk of city-owned right-of-way to this county-owned right-of-way. That green sort of quadrilateral with a brown dot on it is owned by Travis County. It's adjacent to 973, and it's the point at which the trail would transition from City of Austin jurisdiction to Travis County jurisdiction.
And now we move to the county, right? Thanks, Mikey. And there's one other plan that I want to make sure to mention, but the Travis County Parks Master Plan, which was adopted in 2016, includes a line on the map, or actually it's more like brackets on the map for a Colorado River corridor as well, and looking at a trail. And I think a big piece of this that I want to make sure that you walk away realizing it's a piece of this is looking for opportunities for ecological restoration as we're talking about transportation and trail building. Because sometimes you can build a trail and you can mess up what you love about the place. So you have to be very conscious as you go in and you build a trail. Kevin's got thoughts on this. Yeah.
Where the river 973. Sorry, yes, I blew it, didn't I? So the green square, yeah, that's it. That's a Travis County Parks property.
Yes.
This is important for Neil.
Yeah. There.
So yes, that is a Travis County Parks property. We received that land because it was extra or left over Travis County right away when 973 along there was realigned, redone, etc. So our plan has been, that's a good place for some river access. So our plan has been to do that there, but hasn't been a plan on what that looks like. So in our vision, we have looked at, how we can connect that ultimately along going east along the river here. So I think Joanna will be talking more about that.
And hopefully, I'm really having trouble sitting. I feel like getting up and like pointing things out. Can I stand? Can I use? Okay. Anna. All right. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make it very interactive. Okay. So we're entering into Travis County. This is 130. And I think what's really interesting, Mikey mentioned the Dog's Head. If you start looking at the land ownership on this stretch of the Colorado River, there's a lot of opportunity for linking them together. It's not like we're talking about 500 different landowners. It's really pretty doable. So you've got, this is the Travis County one. We've got 130. We've got our friends at Tesla who do have what an ecological paradise vision. And we have talked to them about a trail in a park on their land and how it could potentially connect to the vision that we all have for the Colorado River. So then you continue along. You've got Colony Neighborhood Park. And then it gets really interesting right here where Onion Creek, which goes past McKinney Falls, Richard Moya Park. It's a really quite lovely creek if you haven't had the opportunity to pop down in there. But it does come out at the Colorado River, and Travis County has been actively working and has land purchased to create a new park called Confluence Park that's at where Onion Creek flows into the Colorado River. The trail that we also mentioned there is funding to build it right now and plans underway is along Onion Creek. So potentially if you could link up to what's happening on the Colorado River Trail, you could go from McKinney Falls and further all the way to the Colorado River and then head back to downtown Austin, or hopefully head downstream as well. So heading downstream, should we do the next slide? Heading downstream, we've also got, okay, we're cruising along downstream. Then we hit another project that Travis County is working on, which is the Gilliland Creek Trail or Greenway, Gilliland Creek Greenway that goes all the way up in the plans to Northeast Metro Park, which is in Pflugerville. So it's a very extensive greenway where Travis County has been working on protecting land and also has funding to do a first portion of a trail from Northeast Metro Park in Pflugerville all the way down to Benny Fisher Park in Manor. So that could potentially connect or would connect to the Colorado River Trail as well. And if we were to continue on the Colorado River, we hit our two lovely parks, little tiny Little Weberville Park and continuing on to the larger Weberville Park at the Bastrop County line. So there's a lot of great connectivity that can occur with lands that are already protected and give people some good access. And I think I pass it off to Janet next. But just to set the stage is we're working on a number of projects right now that can support this moving forward. And I think I should step down, but Mikey was saying if you walk away with one idea, I think what has been really interesting about this project is, as Mikey said, the vision for a greenway around the Colorado River has been around for a very, very long time. We were looking at maps and we thought, the land ownership is such that there's potential for this now in a way that there might not have been in the past. So that's why we're gathering the troops. So I hope that you guys will join us in being part of those troops to make this vision that's been out there for a really long time actually happen. So here's some ways you can do it. Janet, you don't want to stand?
No, I'll sit. Can't compete with Vanna, what the heck? So a couple thoughts came to mind. Joanna didn't point it out, but as you come from where Onion Creek Greenway comes into the confluence and Gilliland Creek, there is what's called, well, now you can see it, what we call the Dog's Paw. And the Dog's Paw on the south side, Elon Musk has some ownership of property there. But Travis County has, you can see that green strip on kind of that east side because the river is running north and south there. So up a little bit on the other side of the river. So we have kind of have an anchor of property in there. And so again, in our long range vision, we're hoping or envisioning the connection between the Onion Creek Greenway to the opposite side of the river so that ultimately you can get to the Gilliland Creek Greenway as well. And so as Joanna mentioned, looping around on the Colorado River Corridor Trail back into Austin, you could come from McKinney Falls State Park or further south ultimately, but from the county perspective right now, McKinney Falls State Park, all the way to the confluence on the Onion Creek Greenway, then cross over and then be able to connect to the Gilliland Creek Greenway and then take the Gilliland Creek Greenway all the way up to Pflugerville. And as you pass through Manor, if you didn't have the energy to go all the way to Pflugerville, at our Benny Fisher Park, you could exit the Gilliland Creek Greenway onto the Austin to Manor Trail that is in place currently. It's become very popular for the cyclists and take that back into Austin. So the connectivity for all of these, we are envisioning that, and those things really can be a reality, but it takes time and then effort of a number of people and agencies. And so your input, it's not unrealistic to think that that river trail could connect onto Bastrop and Smithville. So the other thing along that Gilliland Creek Greenway is there's a couple of areas where developers are going to be installing the Gilliland Creek Greenway Trail done to the Travis County like specifications. So a user won't necessarily know that they're shifting from a Travis County Parks Greenway into a City of Austin developer-built greenway, but that helps from the financial standpoint. When developers are building, they can come in and build these trails. So if you're at all familiar with Whisper Valley, that is one developer that will be building the trail along Gilliland Creek that will connect to the City of Austin's signature park there. And then ultimately on both ends be anchored by the Travis County Gilliland Creek Greenway. So there's a lot of those types of connections. So what I'm really supposed to be talking about now is how this plan is part of a larger plan, one of the larger plans, and that is our new Travis County Comprehensive Plan. And so y'all are probably pretty familiar with our 2016 master plan, we called it then, which really identified parks and was focused on more acquisition, guiding our acquisition and future from that perspective. So we've really expanded it with our expanded mission. Here in the last couple years, we expanded our mission. And so this comprehensive plan will not only guide our acquisition, but also our park development and then our park operations. So before we didn't really have a section devoted to operations. How do our parks operate, run? What are our maintenance standards and development standards? So those types of things will be included. We also have a robust land management division now. I'm sure a lot of you knew or know Glenn Gilman, who was one of our first land managers. He's now moved on to Travis County Fire Marshal's office, I believe. So we have other people in those positions now that some of you may know, but we have this big land management division with forestry and land stewardship and prescribed burning. So that will be a section, and from that also will be a more fully developed land management plan for Travis County Parks. And then also we have the history and cultural aspect of our parks. So we're bringing in kind of focusing on that and the educational component to that. And that is an additional role that the foundation really is taking a large part in. So with that being said, our current comprehensive plan, we started in January of this year, 2025. And that contained one round of community engagement. What I really want to pump up here is your opportunities to engage and provide input for these plans. So we did one round, and so now we're in round two, where our Consultant Men Collaborative has developed a vision and some specific goals and objectives for this plan. And so we're seeking review and input on that phase right now. So we do have flyers up here. We also have these handy dandy little cards with a QR code. Y'all could take one of these. Then when you are having your glass of wine or your cocktail in the evening or whatever, you can pop onto our social pinpoint page, and you can review the goals and objectives and kind of see where we're going and our vision, and rank things for us so we get the community input on what y'all feel is important for us to be focusing on. And that's this round two. And the round two is open until the 19th. That's a Monday of May. That's the Monday after our Love of Parks event at Moya Park from 11 to 3. No yoga, sorry, but a lot of other things. We do have goats, yeah. But a lot of other activities. It's a very family-friendly event. Our Consultant Men Collaborative will be there with an area set up to engage with you and discuss the goals and objectives and the other considerations for the plan and gather input, and they'll have some great activities as well. So I encourage you to attend that. but then also go on to the social pinpoint where you can also sign up to get on the mailing list. So you will get emails ongoing on the, where we're at on the plan. We will have an additional community engagement component in August to September, which is when we'll have the draft plan ready for review, which will include more specific recommendations based on the feedback that we've received over these first few months. And then ultimately, our plan will be adopted by our Commissioners Court in early 2026. And then we'll guide our park land acquisition and park development for the next 10 years. So it's critical for everybody to get their ideas and priorities and such in now, because this is what we use for 10 years. And I won't say that if it's not in the plan, it can't happen, but if it is in the plan, it's much more likely to happen. And it's much easier for us to get funding, whether it's grant funding and or even just regular budget funding through the county budget process for parks, park amenities, and park programs, if it's in the plan.
Quick plug, as the advocate, if you like the idea we're talking about and you like the idea of connectivity with Bastrop County, why not write a note in there? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yes, yeah. I was gonna say the same thing, so thank you for saying that, Janet. These planning efforts are I'm a professional planner, so I say this with that perspective. These planning efforts are fun and stimulating and nice to think about, but they're meaningless without action. So the reason the plan is important is because communities, groups like GSP and the Parks Foundation can rely on adopted plans to pursue funding to design and ultimately construct the projects that are identified as priorities in these planning efforts. So another example, this is also a plan, but this is a more detailed plan that our partnership has pursued specifically to take a more detailed and technical look at the Lower Colorado River Trail. It is an option to us because of the range of planning efforts that have identified this project as a priority. So that's why the plans are important. But this other effort is called, this is again a grant-funded project. It's the Lower Colorado River Watershed Restoration and Access Plan. It's a study that is funded by the Bureau of Reclamation. Great Springs Project and the Travis County Parks Foundation and the Trail Conservancy applied together with support from our various municipalities. And the idea here, Joanna mentioned this, is to synthesize or coordinate the community's stated desires to have access to the river corridor with the community's stated desires and our shared obligation to conserve and enhance the ecological conditions along the river corridor. So it's about figuring out the balance and how that balance might change depending on where the trail is located between recreational and active transportation use of the trail, of the corridor, and its ecological function. So this is funded. It's funded by the federal government, so it hasn't started yet. But it is intended to provide that very specific kind of. It'll use an extensive community engagement process, similar to the way the Travis County Parks Vision Plan is unfolding, Comprehensive Parks Plan is unfolding, in order to identify that vision for balance and alignment between access and restoration, so that it can influence this other project, which is a more technical feasibility study of the trail with the Lower Colorado River Trail in our corridor. This has not yet been funded, but we're optimistic. Our partnership is submitting a proposal to the TxDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant Program, which will fund up to 30%. So another plan, but a plan with design in it to look at a very granular look at the physical conditions. There'll be site surveys for priority segments of the trail that will lead to 30% design for the segments of the Lower Colorado River Trail that in both Travis County and City of Austin jurisdiction that the planning process identifies as being the highest priority will then be designed in at least preliminarily designed to lay the foundation for construction funding from a variety of sources. But primarily, or one option, and I guess most imminently, might be funding through the City of Austin's current bond election. So it's taken a while, but in 2026, City of Austin voters will be able to weigh in on a package of projects recommended by city staff, as well as a task force, an advisory task force that addresses a variety of community priorities within the context of a general obligation bond election. And our group is working to advocate for inclusion of the portions of the Lower Colorado River Trail in the bond package. So we're working closely with staff at the variety of agencies that represent the different disciplines that are interested in the Lower Colorado River Trail. So watershed, PARD, transportation and public works. This is an important project to all of these groups. And so our engagement with those, with the city is happening in each one of those agencies to ensure that the right kind of portion of the Lower Colorado River Trail that's most ready and that's of the most desirable to voters is included in that election package. Okay, so the next thing is this activity, but why don't we do questions next, and then we can, once questions are done, we can do the next thing. So I guess, thank you. Does anybody have a question? Okay.
Is there anywhere upriver from Little Weberville Park where I can put in a kayak along these proposed trails?
So upriver from which did you say? Because you can put it in Weberville.
Little Weberville. I know there's a boat ramp at Little Weberville, upriver along all these.
There,
Well, is that public?
I can only speak for Travis County Parks. So in the future, we will be doing a boat ramp at the confluence of Onion Creek and the Colorado River. So that is a part of the Onion Creek Greenway plan that we are currently in, oddly enough, the review / permitting stage with the city of Austin. Because the property when we bought it was in a City of Austin PUD. So there's some regulations we're trying to sort through. But realistically, that could be built, because we do have the money for that as well, in the next couple years. Other than that, you can put in at the 973, that little spot, but it's not a formal boat ramp. We envision ultimately that, but people do put in their canoes and kayaks. There you drive down off of the 973, down kind of under the bridge.
I was interested more in the Gulf too, so Onion Creek.
But it sounds like that's something that would be great input to be captured in any of these community design efforts, that there's a priority for, well, at least it sounds like you have a priority or an interest in having increased boat access throughout the Ole East upstream of Little Weberville Park. And so knowing that and hearing that idea repeated by others is the kind of input that is needed for the comprehensive parks plan and for the other projects that we mentioned to make sure that that is represented in the future implementation efforts.
And I get to be Vanna White. Just because it's a good question, Charles, that should also be reviewed. If you're gonna use the river beginning in Austin, at Montopolis Bridge, you can access the river. There is not a boat ramp. There's a weird little park underneath there that's not city or county, that was pretty poorly designed with no input, yes. And that's something, again, to echo what's being said here, planning input is critical. And I don't know of any input for what they built underneath there. And it's left folks very angry because there is no boat ramp. But you can put in kayaks and such. So that's here. And then next downstream is what Neil was mentioning at Imperial Drive, Imperial Valley, which is right about there. You can access the Texas River School. Is it still Parks and Wildlife? Connect. Yeah, yeah. So there's kind of access there, but that's why this new Trevino Park is going to be so critical. Because again, you have a segment that you can easily paddle in just a few hours in the morning. Then from there, the next river access is what they were just describing, 973 Bridge. With Travis County having that land, it's now fenced on both sides. One fence is Austin Waters and one fence is Travis, although the gate, somebody crashed through it and it's wide open right now. This is a highly used access point at the 973 bridge. All of that informal. TxDOT did a pretty good job of laying aggregate down. It's bumpy, but nobody's maintaining it yet. But Travis County Parks will be soon, so that's here. And then, Charles, right, the challenge is, where do you get in next? We historically had used Austin Colony. There's a way to get to the river there. It's very muddy. It's not developed. For our river monitoring, we don't even use it anymore because of those reasons. But that, and it's not Colony, it's Austin Colony Neighborhood Park that needs to be developed as an access point. Then what Janet's describing will be down here somewhere, another access point. And you can see what we're doing, trying to get them close enough together so that people can get on the river just for a morning, that you're not having to do a day-long journey. So an access point here at the mouth of Onion Creek will be critical for usage. Downstream then, the next place that you can get in the river is Little Weberville Park, which is a long stretch. And when they work on this, we'll see what's possible at the mouth of Gilliland Creek as well for access. Then the stretch between, as Neil well knows, between Little Weberville Park and Big Weberville is a 5-mile stretch. It's the easiest stretch right now if you've never been on the river. That one, both the shuttle by road is very close, and then it's a beautiful 5-mile stretch of river that you can do in a morning. So there's my Vanna Whiting. As you go downstream, you're into Bastrop County then. When we do our river monitoring trips, we do Big Weberville all the way to the Upley Bridge. It's because of Skip Cameron, who's here, Conant that's here, their farm allows us to break that up into 2 doable segments. That really should be 3 segments if Bastrop County would develop it, but that's getting ahead of it. Other questions? It was a really good question. I hand it back to you.
Got one in the back here.
Oh, no, you're not allowed because you're on YouTube.
Okay, I'll hold the microphone really far away. In the planning for all these trails, I'm wondering about e-bikes. They are everywhere in the last few years. And I'm wondering about how all this connectivity with pedestrians and non-e-bikes and e-bikes will all get along with each other along these amazing trails we're going to be building.
Well, again, I can speak for Travis County, not so much for the city of Austin or other agencies, but in Travis County, we do have e-bike policy. A lot of our current trails are more rustic, I would say, or, they're not the greenways will be paved, will be concrete trails. So a lot of them are more, bike trails, flow trails, primitive trails, that type of thing. And so we do have a policy, I forget exactly what it says, but depending on the type of trail, they either are allowed or not. Some trails they're not allowed on. On the greenways, we don't have a policy yet because we don't have any of the greenways built and or getting to that point of being close to up and running. That is one thing that will come from this comprehensive plan is the recommendation for operations and maintenance manuals of the greenways. So again, if you have specific thoughts on how that should be managed, I'd encourage you to go put your thoughts into into our community engagement page in some form. Or send an email. There's also an email link where you can email in thoughts. But do you want to say, you have a
I
preference?
think it's time for one more question, and but then after that, it'll be free flowy, and we can talk more. But yeah, if you want to just do one more question, and then we can do the next thing.
Yeah, I had a question for Mikey. When I've read about your Springs Trail, I've wondered how broad your definition of trail is. I mean, is it some city streets, some county roads, some nature trails, some bike trails? How do you envision that?
Yeah, great question. So first, we don't have like a preferred trail typology. We defer to what the local or regional or state guidance for that trail type is. So if a community wants a nature trail in a location and it's part of our network, that's what we work towards. And we've built lots of nature trail. In other segments where the trail is intended to be located like adjacent to a major road, we will typically, the recommendation or the because of that sort of condition that the trail is planned to be in, our trail type would be like a shared use path or not ours, the preferred sort of safe, accessible, desirable trail type would be a shared use path, typically paved 10 to 12 feet wide, like Travis County's Greenway typology. We don't consider a trail to be like a separated shared use, bike trail or bike lane on a surface street. However, if the way to get to the Capitol is along Congress Avenue, so until there's that little stretch of the Great Springs corridor is on street. But other than that, our goal is to support communities that want to support implementation of community priorities that are trails. So, a separated bike path wouldn't really qualify.
I have a follow-up question. Oh, you can go.
I was just going to add, I encourage you to take a look at that Travis County Greenways map. That was a really fun project, talking to all the different jurisdictions about their trails and then deciding what we would count as a trail. And it was a shared use path. It had to be separate from a road to be considered a trail. Some would say it should be a dirt path or decomposed granite to be considered a trail. It's an interesting conversation to say.
And just to follow up with Mikey in the Great Springs, the Camino Real, what's the relationship between your project and that project, which actually connects to Bastrop?
So yeah, I don't know if the viewers at home can hear the vacuum cleaner, but yeah, so the Camino Real is mostly aligned with Great Springs corridor in many places, especially along Onion Creek and through Comal County. And it's a nationally designated historic trail, and so and it's really special and cool and compelling. And so from a sort of a trail implementation perspective, the locations where the Great Springs corridor and the Camino Real align opens up new sort of funding or technical resources to implement the Great Springs Trail, because it is the Camino Real in those locations, and the Camino Real is a federally designated special place. But yeah, we work closely with the folks who oversee the sort of Friends of group for them, and yeah, it's another one of the many areas within Central Texas and within the recharge zone in our trail corridor where the best place for a trail was identified 10,000 years ago. And where our work is to leverage that and also to celebrate and be respectful of the historic and cultural importance of that trail to everybody that has used it before us.
I had a fun fact. So I mentioned our event for the Love of Parks Festival on May 17th. We have the Camino Real, that organization that's going to be there. And we also have an artist, it's a singer-songwriter that tells the story of the Camino while moving this beautifully painted mural, which is kind of like an old-fashioned movie screen. And so it's a kid's story time. So hopefully you guys can come and see that after yoga.
Okay, so we need to move on because we're about to get the boot, and we really want to hear what you have to say about these sort of core topics for the Colorado River Trail. And so, what these are physical prompts. So I'm going to move two of them, but these are sort of four of the areas that people most want to talk about the Lower Colorado River that we're most interested in collecting your feedback on. So if you have a few minutes, we're going to just loosen up the program here. There are sticky notes, pens, and then sheets for each one of these four topics. So if you could, if you want to circulate around, grab a pen, there's pens up here and there's pens with the sheets. Take like 10 or 15 minutes to write down some thoughts on a sticky note related to each one of these topics. Stick it on. We can capture that and have that for our knowledge and to understand what people know and think about the geography of the trail.
And yes, you can use the restrooms too at this moment, but 11:45, I take control again. Yes.
Thank you.
Everybody, take your seats, to your seats. We got to wrap this thing up. I like that everybody is convivial and contriving and conniving. That's part of what we do. But we're going to finish by noon, and I want to give a chance for event updates because we've already had, and the feedback that you're giving is really important. They showed you other ways to give feedback. We're not rushing out at noon. I just officially always try to end on time. And we always try to end with event updates. And you've already heard May 17th, you can go to Moya for an amazing event. I may get to go this year. Usually it's on the weekend when we're doing the Loco Trash Bash or some other thing, but I may get over there after yoga with Fidel. 10:30. That's right. So up on Platt Lane at Hornsby Bend at the Riverwatch House, do visit because that is an amazing space that, Fidel, when were you a student? What years in Riverwatch? Yeah, yeah. So he's been around 15 years. I've been around longer with that house. So get there. I'm not against. I took yoga in college, but it was a way to meet girls. I said that on YouTube. It worked. It worked, yes. This Saturday is World Migratory Bird Day. All the bird folks are here. And it's now an established tradition that we host World Migratory Bird Day at Hornsby Bend at the Center for Environmental Research with Travis Audubon Society. Last year, almost 200 people came. This year, probably over 200 because the weather Saturday is perfect. I hoped for rain, but, and I've sent that out to you. Most of you should be on our email list. If you look in the calendar, this year there's a free bird walk at 9 a.m. ending by 10:30. And then there's all kinds of crazy stuff they've put together, even a raptor show. And I know what's going to happen, right? The raptors are going to eat the purple martins and there's going to be general screaming. It's going to be cool. Come and see that. And then I'm going to lead a walk if anybody's still interested and capable around 1:30 for some more birding. But the World Migratory Bird Day, is Bastrop doing anything with it? Yeah, you did. Oh, that's right, because I put it out, right? You did that. Yes. Austin's urban biologist will be down there in Wimberley talking, and she's been doing lots of talking. I've heard good things about you, so you can have her come to Bastrop and talk. Yep. Do it again. Other stuff coming up in May to announce? Good, that was easy. We will be meeting next. Adina's had to leave, but we'll be meeting July 9th at the Courthouse Annex in Bastrop. July 9th is not the first Wednesday, but I was convinced to move it because of some national holiday happening adjacent to it that might screw it up. Yeah, don't do it. So it's the 9th, so be careful. It's not the first Wednesday in July, it'll be the second Wednesday. If you've signed up, the sign-in sheet's gone around. If you're not on our email list, that's how you get on our email list. You'll get an announcement about it. And that one will focus on birds. Bastrop Audubon, Bird City, and we will have the famous C.R. Smith return, as he did in this room last year, to give the update on the bald eagle nest along the river that he's been monitoring. We were just out on the river on Saturday. Sadly, the bald eagle nest at the mouth of Onion Creek, he points at the map uselessly, that pair didn't have any young this year. And that too is why CR year after year since 2011 has been monitoring these nests. They do change and they move them around. We don't know why they weren't successful. The two other nests in the Travis County upper Bastrop stretch do have young, but I won't give anything away till CR comes with his videos and announcements. The reason we know all that is we get out on the river. Yep.
That information. Who has the bald eagle?
I do.
The reason I ask is because it has been found or pointed out by our environment.
Out all of that information on eBird, right? But also the Hornsby Bend Bird Observatory has bird data going back to 1959, all online, the biggest database about the river. And it's been there for, that website's been up since 1998. That's crazy. So all of that data goes there. It's publicly available. Every bird that's been seen at Hornsby Bend for decades. And then the master naturalists down in Bastrop have begun their quarterly trips, right, Luke, Nancy? And it's going to be June 14th that they will do another trip collecting data. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, the iNaturalist app and the eBird app have changed how data is out there. And it's very easy to go on those and discover data that is housed there. And you just put in a query at these different points and you'll see who's been out there. The river monitoring trips, though, are important for several reasons. Number one, and most importantly, they're fun, right? Right. And to use my word again, convivial, right? You're going to be out there on the river with people who you'll be happy to be with, typically. Two, they're important because historically, the river was frankly very neglected for data collection. It's not that case anymore, but back when we started, and I'm pointing at Sherry, right back in 2003, 2000 was when I realized folks weren't monitoring the river, right? LCRA is very limited in what it can do, especially back then. Austin Youth River Watch began monitoring water quality. We tried to mobilize people to get down to the river. It took 10 years to get more of the environmental community in Austin to say, hey, yeah, that is important. Because of course, most of the focus has been further west. Things have changed, and this is probably a good way to wrap up. These guys are doing east and west as a given and as a priority, right? Balancing those two sides of Travis County. They're here today because they know Bastrop County is next. And Bastrop County, this may seem very sophisticated to you, these professionals. This is what you can and need to do. And when we began 22 years ago, believe me, it was a sense of like stepping into a void, right, Sherry, of trying to get planning started. Charles and I were quibbling over this, but the planning stuff, Bastrop did an open space plan, right? It's online, go look at it. And Dan's nodding his head, right? Bastrop has lots of resources, and Dan's nodding his head again, right? There are folks like the Picots to push this forward. And now's the time, right? The window's going to close. You have allies out there. And at the core of it, in a case here, right? Ultimately, this is how we improve and then protect the ecology of the river. You know, for me personally, that's, you know, I love the recreational side of this, but the importance of getting that protection done. Well, this is the process of doing it in Texas, realistically. And you do have allies that can help with that. But this process is the anchor for it, because when they see this, they know that the river's important to everybody. And so far, it's working at the Travis County end. So we're here to help at the Bastrop County end. So our next meeting, July the 9th, Courthouse Annex in Bastrop. And then the next meeting, thanks to LCRA, Susan's here, and Hannah will be at McKinney Ruffs in September. We'll have the LCRA biologists come and talk about that stuff. We haven't really planned it yet, but there's lots of critters beyond birds to talk about then. And then the final meeting this year will be in November. It'll be a Thanksgiving meeting this year, so we'll have all the leftover no, it'll be at the beginning of November. But we can practice our turkey making and Janet will make turkey cookies for the November meeting. It's awful. Stuffing, you reuse. Yeah. Oof. And with that thought in mind, bye. Thanks for coming.